Hello community! As we all know, Hitman World of Assassination has no shortages of weapons and gear for us to run our fingers through. And although there's quite a bit of useful weapons and gear that can help you your way through this game, there's also quite a fair amount that can't even produce a whimper. And that is what this particular video is based on. 8 garbage items that are not even worth bothering to unlock. At the number 8 spot we have the Bartoli Woodsman hunting rifle. As you all know, I recently did a Master Sniper playthrough of all Hitman 3 maps, and as a way to make that playthrough more diverse, I did my best to incorporate as many different sniper rifles as I could to make things interesting. However, there were quite a few sniper rifles that were simply too bad to include. None worse than the hunting rifle. For starters, the weapon has an animation when it's being taken out of the briefcase, which can slow you down, but as you'll see in a moment, that's the least of its problems. As I take aim, you can see just how much the sniper sways back and forth due to its lack of a slowdown perk, and when combined with no zoom options, it can be a living nightmare trying to hit anything, especially from afar. But even if you do, because the damage of the rifle is so low, anything that isn't a headshot will not result in a kill, meaning that you'll have to hit multiple body shots if you're trying to take down a target. The weapon is so herky-jerky that anything from long range can be almost impossible, but it actually gets far worse than that. Once we make our way to the second sniper nest, as soon as I take a shot, due to the lack of a suppressor, guards from multiple stories down will be able to hear me and come to investigate. But also, because of the low power, as mentioned previously, we won't even be able to open the door to one of our main targets, no matter how many shots we take at it. And when shooting a target, they'll go down instantly with no pushback, meaning it will be significantly harder to hide any bodies. It is just a bad sniper rifle from every way you wanna look at it. Even if you want an unsuppressed sniper rifle, there's just so many better options out there. Number 7 is the proximity demo block. Now, explosives in this game are already niche enough, but the proximity demo block takes that even further. It's just an item that isn't great at anything, especially when compared to the rest. If you're trying to blow up a target while keeping your silent assassin, the best thing you could do is plant an explosive on one side of a car or any explodable object and lure your target to the other side. That way you can blow up the object and it's the object that will take down your target, which will keep your silent assassin. The proximity demo block can't do that because it's proximity. It needs to have someone approach it in order to go off. But if you try to trigger it yourself, you'll never make it out. So it's just not good at setting up any type of vehicle or prop explosions. At the same time, if you need to blow a wall or a door open, a breaching charge will take care of that job perfectly by giving you the desired result while keeping the noise level to a minimum. Meanwhile, the demo block will notify half the map when it's being used. If you're trying to set up explosion kills in a remote location, the explosive phone, breaching charge, and remote ducky will give you the opportunity to do so. Also, not to mention, the demo block is illegal to hold and extremely easy to spot when planted. It's just one of those items that excels at nothing. Every other explosive has something on it, a gimmick or a lack of a suspicion when used, something that makes them unique and allows you the chance to get away with them. The demo block's main feature is that its explosion and sound are far stronger than most explosives, but in a game centered around stealth, that's hardly a good thing. Though if you want it, you can easily unlock it by reaching a level 4 on Carpathian Mountains. Number 6 spot is the Sedative Poison Vial and the Sedative Poison Pills. Now I know that although rare, there are instances in Hitman where there is a non-target NPCs who carries an important prop of some kind that we need to retrieve. However, sedative poison is very rarely the best way to do so, and even when it is, there are just so many better alternatives. In order to use the sedative poison vial, you need to have an NPC who who drinks or eats, it has to be consumed with something, and that often means you have to go out of your way to poison said thing and wait for their loop to reach it. But there's so many other alternatives. A tranquilizer shot will knock down the NPC immediately, allowing you to snoop in and collect the item. Also, you can use everyone's favorite freelancer trick and plant a banana in front of their route. When they slip on it, you'll be able to pick up the item as well. And for those of you premium assassins out there, there's an even easier way to do this. Just use the sedative gum from the slot DLC. Plant it in front of your intended person, then they'll pick it up and have a piece of gum, which will knock them out and let you pick up the pieces. We won't even mention the sedative snail as well, but that's one of the biggest weaknesses when it comes to the sedative vial. There's just so many quicker and, in most cases, safer alternatives. The other big weakness it has going for it is that it takes a full slot in your inventory when you can easily skip over it and just grab some good old-fashioned rat poison, which will isolate your target and let you pick up the object without wasting a slot. Rat poison and emetic flowers are available on every map, so you never need to bring any, and on top of that, a lot of times you can just isolate them yourself if you're a creative person who knows how to manipulate routes. Also, the fact that sedative poison is only useful on such a small minority of targets, and there's so many better alternatives, makes its usefulness very questionable indeed, especially knowing that use of sedative poison on any target will result in you losing Silent Assassin. Thankfully, at least it's easy to unlock, as it's only a level 2 on Paris, Scent of Fortuna, and a level 7 on Dartmoor for the MK3 variant. At number 5, following closely in its big brother's footsteps, we have the sedative syringe. This one makes even less sense than the previous. I mean, think about it. In order to use it, the target has to be in an isolated area, so you don't get spotted. But if that is the case, why do you even need a sedative syringe in the first place? You can just knock out the target and hide the body, or use a tranquilizer, or any of the other alternatives I spoke about. It just doesn't make a lick of sense most of the time, unless you really just need to grab an item of a person quickly and you have nowhere to hide the body, or the time to do it. But outside of freelancers' careers, these cases are very rare. So honestly, I can't even think of any on the top of my head when it comes to the main story through. And as I mentioned previously, you will lose Silent Assassin if you happen to do it on a target. So what's the point? Again, it just has holes in its design all over the place, and Ayo clearly knows that, as the sedative syringe is the only poisonous item that never got a secondary version in Hitman 2 or Hitman 3, with the only version available coming from Hitman 2016, which is unlocked at level 15 in Paris. Number 4 is the Broadsword. Just looking at it, you can imagine the weaknesses it may possess, and yes, I assure you that it does. It's just a giant wonky sword. You can't put it on your back in order to scale up or down, which is kind of a big deal when traversing maps, as it's illegal to hold, even with most disguises. The fact that it's a lethal weapon means you only use it to take down targets. But there's like a million better alternatives. Agent 47 will drop it anytime he throws a distraction or switches weapons. Also, the animations for takedowns can be very slow, which is a big deal, given that you'll most likely face multiple enemies when using it. Lethal melees are already extremely niche and very rarely used, but this one takes that niche even further. At the number 3 position, we have another explosive, and this time it's the Concussion grenade. It's an item that is only ever useful in Freelancer when you have the knockout guard side objective to complete. For any other situation, it's really not that useful. Sadly, you will lose Silent Assassin 9 out of 10 times when using it, even if no one spots the bodies. Just it going off will take away your silent rating. It's only ever useful in Freelancer and still in limited capacity, in small rooms where guards are close together. And what makes it even worse is how it compares to the gold brick proximity mine from the slot DLC. The mine goes off silently and will keep your Silent Assassin rating intact even if the bodies get found. It's just far superior in every way, even if it is a paid unlockable. Even though it's a niche item, the fact that it's completely outclassed by another simply takes its limited usefulness down even further. At number 2 we have a three-headed serpent, the snow globe, the crystal ball and the snowball. Ultimately, all three of these unlocks are breakaway props that will shatter both when thrown as a distraction as well as when used to perform a takedown. It's a one-time prop that serves no other purposes. You just use it once, it breaks, and you're left with nothing. I don't need to explain why that's not exactly a good thing, especially when it's exclusive to these three melee items. Other melee items will not only not break, but some have alternative uses, like being able to knock open doors or even sabotage certain environmental props. Number 1, and there can be only one, it is the Molotov cocktail. For those of you veterans out there, you remember this thing when it released alongside Ambrose Island. It pretty much changed the entire meta of the game. You could throw it at your targets, and not only would it do the job, it would also keep your Silent Assassin. This was later nerfed, so the explosion would lose Silent Assassin, but the fire would not. Meaning you could still keep your Silent Assassin rating as long as the fire was the one responsible rather than the explosion. However, that didn't do much either, as a lot of YouTubers even showed tricks with it, launching it from different places and taking down targets from ridiculous distances. There was even a trick where you could shoot it with a tranquilizer, which would cause it to go off, but then you could pick it up and use it again. No matter what Ayu did to try and balance it, the Molotov was simply too strong to ignore. So at the end, Ayo officially decided that enough was enough, and it was time for the Molotov to be extinguished, changing both the fire and explosion effects to lose Silent Assassin, and significantly reducing the ability to wallbang targets from distance, making the Molotov in a sense no better than any other throwable explosive, except it's illegal to hold, which makes it actually even worse than the explosive baseball/golf ball, turning it from the strongest item in the game all the way to the very weakest, at least for now. Hitman has had a fascinating journey since 2016. With more and more new weapons and items being introduced, some of the older ones have simply lost their usefulness by comparison, while others were never that great to begin with. Yet, still, there are some situations where, of course, even one of these items, as niche as they may be, can prove useful and come in handy. However, for the vast majority of cases, these 8 items will be pretty much completely useless. And speaking of completely useless, Ubisoft will be dropping Assassin's Creed Shadows in just about a week and a half from now, so do expect a video covering it coming very soon. And until next time, this has been WildGold, and thank you all so very much for watching.